My father and my uncle I killed with a gun. My mother, my sister, and my grandmother I beheaded with 2 knives. Theofilos Sexidhs was born in 1972 in the area of Limenas of Thasos to parents Maria and Dimitris Sexidhs. On July the 21st, 1996, he was arrested for the first time for the possession of a firearm after police searched his car in Kavala. The weapons found in his possession were a sawn-off shotgun, a regular shotgun, and cartridges. He was sentenced to 10 months in prison with a fine of 700,000 drachmas, but released because of a clean criminal record. On August 8th, 1996, while being a law student of the University of Komodini, he committed the horrific crimes that shock Greece still to this day. He killed and dismembered members of his family. According to his apology, he did so because he believed they had conspired against him in order to kill him. The murders took place on the 19th and 20th of May 1996 in Thasos. His first victim was his 58-year-old uncle. They had gone to the ancient Acropolis of Thasos to discuss, but the discussion became intense and they started to fight. He tried to stab me with a knife. I pushed him down a cliff 10 meters high. I went down and saw him still alive, and so that he would not suffer any more, I cut off his head with a knife, the perpetrator argued. Then he said he hid the body in some bushes. After he left, he bought a new shirt and a 1-gun shotgun and went home to wait for the rest of his family. His second victim was his 55-year-old father, Dimitris, a teacher by profession. The same day, around 7:30 p.m, he entered the home and a new fight broke out. Theofilos claimed that he shot him because he was carrying a knife and feared he wanted to kill him. When he shot him, he cut his carotid artery. His third victim was his 48-year-old mother, Maria. She entered the house shortly after her husband's murder, and he killed her the same way. She had a knife too. I grabbed her arm, disarmed her, and slit her throat with a knife, Sexidhs said, but the coroner found that she had also been shot in the head. His fourth victim was his 27-year-old sister, Emmy, who, to be mentioned, was suffering from schizophrenia. Emmy, who had heard the noise, entered the living room, holding an ashtray to defend herself. Sexidhs claimed she had a knife too. She rushed at me and I killed her the same way, he added. His fifth and final victim was his 75-year-old grandmother, Hermione. The day after the murders he committed, she went to the family's home and he killed her by slitting her throat, claiming that she too wanted to stab him. Eleni Sexidhi, the wife of Theofilos' uncle, complained to the Belgian police that she had lost the whereabouts of her husband, as had the other family members. She had repeatedly tried to contact him, but in vain, and while calling the landline, she consistently was answered by Theofilos, who told her that everyone was abroad, missing. The police authorities in Belgium at the time did not find sufficient evidence to continue the investigation, and indeed, in Greece, she was met with the same conclusion. Thus, some time later, Eleni Sexidhi travelled to Florina, from where the family originated, trying to trace the whereabouts of her husband. On August the 3rd, the perpetrator of the crime went to Florina too, and put on a show, allegedly looking for his mother, father, sister and uncle, asking anxiously the villagers, relatives and family friends. However, his aunt began to realise that something was wrong with Theofilos. She knew, of course, that he was somewhat quirky, but his behaviour was completely erratic. Theofilos Sexidhs had moved the bodies to the bedroom, wiped the blood, and then fallen asleep. The next morning his grandmother arrived at the home, and for her case he claimed that she moved against him, so he pinned her down and slit her throat. Immediately after, he chopped the bodies up listening to Tchaikovsky and placed them in black trash bags. At the same time, he cut the skulls with an iron saw and removed the brains of his victims, placing them on a plate and refrigerating them in order to study them and then eat them to punish them. He said, 2 or 3 of their brains I took off and put them in the refrigerator. I had some psychiatric and medical knowledge and wanted to examine the anatomy of the human brain. That's all. I didn't regret anything I did. One head had already been broken. The brains had come out, so why not put them in the fridge? For 3 days, using the ferry boat of the line Thasos Keramoti, he carried the bags with the dismembered body parts of his relatives to Kavala. When it got dark, he went to Perni's garbage dump and buried the bags. The trial for the horrific murders he committed was held on July the 20th, 1997, in the mixed jury court of Vrama. Earlier, he told police that he committed the murders in self-defense and was the victim of a family plot. They were sick and I wanted to redeem them, he told at first the embattled police officers, and later added, they wanted to get me out of the way and I got to kill them first. There was a conspiracy against me. I was in self-defense. They used to wage psychological warfare because I knew I was another mother's child and they wouldn't tell me the truth. I beat them so I wouldn't be taken out. He was sentenced to 5 life terms and transferred to the mental hospital for prisoners of Theofilos prison. He asked the officers only to listen to Bach, or if that's not possible, classical music and to read books. In 2016, he applied for release, but it was not accepted by the Judicial Council. After a 5-month observation of Sexidhs' behaviour, psychiatric scientists concluded that Sexidhs suffered from psychotypic personality disorder without needing treatment and was fully held liable for his actions. However, his marital status was highlighted, which had peculiarities and resulted in Sexidhs having experienced very difficult situations. On June 2nd, 1992, he underwent a CT scan, showing that he had brain abnormalities. After his imprisonment, he underwent the same examination, again bringing to light abnormal findings. In 2010, the psychiatrist at Biatikos Hospital's anti-narcotics organisation, Georgios Tseferakos, stated that Sexidhs was suffering from schizophrenia and not from a schizophrenia disorder. On the 12th of February 2019, Theofilos Sexidhs died of a heart failure at the age of 47. He is said to have had serious heart problems for years and was taking medication. It became known that he was overweight, and at the time for his usual morning shower, on the morning of the day he died, he had difficulty breathing. He was immediately taken to the inmate hospital, where his death was recorded.